Commander Vox Tool stared at the holographic projection of the small blue planet, such an unassuming little world, barely visible against the backdrop of cosmic radiation. According to imperial records, the dominant species called it Earth, though why they'd name their world after dirt was beyond his comprehension. Status report, he barked, mandibles clicking with anticipation. Lieutenant Krex, his second in command, stepped forward. Preliminary scans complete, sir. The species calls themselves humans. Technology level, pre-interstellar. Military capability, laughable. Natural resources, abundant. Threat assessment, negligible. Perfect. Vox Tool's outer eyelids flickered with pleasure. The galactic hegemony needed new mining colonies, and this Earth seemed ideal. Minimal resistance, maximum profit. The High Council would reward him handsomely for such an acquisition. Prepare the invasion fleet, he ordered. Standard conquest protocol. I want boots on the ground within 36 planetary rotations. Already underway, sir. The troops are eager to test their new weapons. It's been a while since we have had a proper invasion. Vox Tool chuckled. Don't get too excited, Lieutenant. This will be more like pest control than warfare. Yes, sir. Krex hesitated, mandibles twitching nervously. However, sir, there is one anomaly in our findings. Speak. The humans have an unusually robust information network for their technological level. They call it the Internet. It contains peculiar data. Elaborate. Vox Tool didn't appreciate vagueness. Well, sir, they seem to have produced an enormous quantity of fictional scenarios depicting alien invasions and their subsequent defeat of those aliens. Vox Tool burst into laughter, his thorax vibrating with mirth. How adorable. They dream of heroically repelling invaders they have never even encountered. Show me one of these scenarios. Krex tapped his datapad, and a video began playing on the main screen. Crude special effects depicted strange-looking aliens being decimated by humans with primitive weapons. Is that supposed to be us? Vox Tool asked, incredulous. We don't even have tentacles. It gets stranger, sir. They have thousands of these narratives. They call some of them HFI humanity, FK yeah, stories where humans always emerge victorious, often through implausible means. Psychology report, Vox Tool demanded. The ship's behavioral analyst, Dr. Ziknar, stepped forward. It appears to be a coping mechanism, Commander. A species-wide fantasy to manage their obvious inferiority complex. They know they are small and vulnerable in the cosmic scheme, so they create fantasies where they are somehow special or exceptional. How sad, Vox Tool said, not feeling sad at all. And yet, strangely confident of them. Confidence born of ignorance, sir, Dr. Ziknar replied. They have never encountered a real threat. They fight only themselves. Well, they are about to get a reality check. Vox Tool turned to his tactical officer. Lieutenant Drex, any recommendations for first contact points? Lieutenant Drex examined her screen. I suggest targeting their power centers, sir. They call them capitals. Their planetary governance is fragmented into nations with arbitrary boundaries. No unified defense strategy. Primitive, Vox Tool scoffed. Select 6 major targets, geographically dispersed. I want simultaneous strikes to prevent any coordinated response. Yes, sir. I recommend Washington, Moscow, Beijing, London, New Delhi, and Tokyo. Proceed. And Lieutenant Krex, prepare our declaration of conquest. Standard format, surrender or be annihilated. The usual. With pleasure, sir. As his crew busied themselves with invasion preparations, Vox Tool returned to studying the hologram of Earth. Such a pretty little planet. It would look even prettier with hegemony mining facilities covering its surface. Too bad about the locals, he murmured to himself. But that's progress for you. 3 days later, Vox Tool stood before his assembled invasion force in the main hangar bay. 5,000 of the hegemony's finest troops, armed with weapons that could reduce cities to ash. These weren't just soldiers, they were the galaxy's apex predators, bred for conquest. warriors of the hegemony. He bellowed, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. Today we bring another primitive world into our glorious empire. The natives call themselves humans. They are soft, weak creatures with no natural armor and pathetic reflexes. Their most powerful weapons wouldn't scratch our lightest vehicles. The troops chittered with laughter. This will be the easiest conquest in your illustrious careers. The High Council expects minimal casualties and maximum efficiency. Remember, we want the planet's resources intact, so try not to vaporize too many mountains. More laughter, louder this time. Any questions before we commence? A young officer raised a claw. Commander, is it true they only have 2 arms? How do they even function? Yes, just 2 arms, and only 2 eyes as well. Frankly, it's a wonder they survived this long. Nature was not kind to them. Another soldier spoke up. Sir, what about captives? The usual processing protocols? Affirmative. Healthy specimens for labor camps, the rest, well, waste management isn't my department. Vox 2 allowed himself a small chuckle. Remember, we are the hegemony. We bring order to chaos, purpose to primitive lives. Now to your ships. Glory awaits. The troops roared their approval and began boarding their assault craft. Vox 2 watched with satisfaction. In just a few hours, Earth would become the newest jewel in the hegemony's crown. Another successful conquest for his already impressive record. Little did he know that those strange H-Fi stories were about to become his personal nightmare. The first wave of hegemony ships entered Earth's atmosphere at precisely 0300 UTC. 6 dropships, each targeting a major city. Vox 2 watched from the command bridge, expecting to see panic, perhaps some futile military response. Instead, he saw something unexpected. Sir, Lieutenant Krex called out, the humans are broadcasting our arrival. What? They are using their information networks to share real-time footage, and sir, they don't seem afraid enough. Vox 2 frowned. Explain. Look at these transmissions. Krex pointed to a series of screens showing human reactions. There was concern, yes, even some panic, but also excitement, determination, and in many places what appeared to be people grabbing weapons and organizing. They are rallying, Vox 2 observed, disbelief in his voice. But why aren't they running? Don't they understand what's happening? Dr. Ziknar stepped forward. Sir, I believe those fictional scenarios I mentioned might be relevant here. The humans have been rehearsing for this, in a sense, not physically, but mentally. They have been telling themselves stories about defeating aliens for generations. Stories don't stop plasma cannons, Vox 2 snapped. No, sir, but they shape expectations and responses. These humans, they expected us. Not specifically us, but something like us. And they have been telling themselves they will win. Vox 2 clicked his mandibles dismissively. Delusions. Contact the ground teams. I want status reports. The communications officer worked her console. Sir, Washington team reporting. They have secured their landing zone but are encountering heavier resistance than anticipated. The humans have some kind of armor-piercing ammunition that's actually damaging our exoskeletons. That's impossible, Vox 2 hissed. Our armor can withstand their most advanced weapons. Beijing team reporting similar issues, sir. And Moscow team says the humans are, sir. They are saying the humans are laughing while they fight. Actually laughing. Vox 2 felt a chill run down his thoracic segments. Put me through to Captain Rez at the Washington site. The screen flickered, showing a chaotic scene. Captain Rez's face appeared, his exoskeleton cracked and green fluid leaking from one eye. Commander, we need reinforcements immediately. These creatures are insane. Report, Captain. What exactly is happening? They are not fighting like primitives, sir. They are coordinated, adapting to our tactics in real time. And sir, they are using our own technology against us. Somehow they have already reverse-engineered our basic shield frequencies. That's not possible, Vox 2 said flatly. It would take years to. Sir, with respect, I'm watching it happen. They captured one of our scout ships intact, and within hours they had components stripped and repurposed. And, sir, they are broadcasting everything they learn. The whole planet knows our weaknesses almost as soon as we do. In the background, Vox Tull could hear the unmistakable sound of hegemony weapons firing, mixed with what had to be human weapons. And yes, there was laughter, human laughter. "Hold your position, Captain. Reinforcements are en route." Vox Tull cut the transmission and turned to his tactical officer. "Lieutenant Drex, send the second wave. All sites. Full combat deployment." "Yes, sir." Dr. Ziknar cleared his throat nervously. "Commander, perhaps we should reevaluate." "We are the hegemony," Vox Tull interrupted sharply. "We do not retreat from primitives. Whatever tricks these humans have, they cannot stand against our full might." The scientist fell silent, but his expression spoke volumes. 4 hours later, Vox Tull was no longer quite so confident. Reports from all 6 landing sites told the same story: hegemony forces meeting unexpected, fierce resistance. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were adapting, learning, sharing information globally at incredible speeds. "Tokyo team has fallen back to defensive positions," Lieutenant Krex reported, his voice tight. "London team reports their command center has been overrun." "New Delhi team is, sir, they have gone dark." Vox Tull slammed a claw down on his console. "How is this possible?" "They are primitives." "Sir, Doctor." Ziknar ventured cautiously. "I have been analyzing their communication patterns. The humans are using their global information network to coordinate in ways we didn't anticipate. Military experts, scientists, even ordinary citizens are contributing ideas, spotting patterns in our tactics." "You are saying they are crowdsourcing a counterattack?" Vox Tull asked incredulously. "Precisely, sir. And they are doing it with remarkable efficiency. What's more, they seem to be enjoying it in some bizarre way. Like they are fulfilling some kind of species-wide fantasy." Lieutenant Drex looked up from her station. "Commander, we have a new development. The humans have launched multiple space vehicles, crude by our standards, but they are heading directly for us." "Shoot them down," Vox Tull ordered. "Already trying, sir, but they are using our own shield frequencies to slip past our defenses. And, sir, they are broadcasting music as they approach." "Music?" "Yes, sir. Something called Welcome to Earth and Flight of the Valkyries, and dozens of others. It seems to be some kind of psychological warfare." Vox Tull felt something he hadn't experienced in his entire military career: genuine concern. "Not fear, certainly not fear, but concern, sir," Krex interrupted. "Incoming transmission from the human vessels. They are requesting to speak with our commander." Vox Tull hesitated only briefly. "Put them through." The main screen flickered to life, showing a human face. The creature looked surprisingly calm for a member of a species experiencing first contact during an invasion. "This is General Jack Blackburn of the United Earth Defense Force," the human said, his lips curling into what Vox Tull recognized as a smile, though it didn't seem friendly. "Am I addressing the leader of this invasion fleet?" "I am Commander Vox Tull of the Galactic Hegemony," he replied stiffly. "Your resistance is futile, human. Surrender now and your species may survive as servants of the hegemony." The human's smile widened. "Yeah, about that. We have got a counter-proposal for you, Commander. I do not negotiate with." "It's not a negotiation," the human interrupted. "It's a warning. You have 1 hour to recall your forces and leave our solar system. After that, we can't guarantee your safety." Vox Tull actually laughed. "You threaten the might of the hegemony? With what? Your primitive weapons barely. Check your internal security systems, Commander," Blackburn said calmly. A cold feeling spread through Vox Tull's thorax. "Lieutenant Krex, security status." Krex was already frantically working his console. "Sir, we have intrusions throughout the ship's systems." "How did they?" While you were busy landing troops, we were busy uploading viruses to every device your soldiers carried, Blackburn explained. Your cybersecurity is impressive, but turns out it has some fascinating vulnerabilities when exposed to quantum encryption methods we have been developing. Impossible, Vox Tool hissed. Your species doesn't have quantum technology. We didn't, Blackburn agreed cheerfully. Until we reverse-engineered yours. Thanks for the tech demo, by the way. Real generous of you. Vox Tool fought to maintain his composure. This changes nothing. We still have overwhelming firepower. Your planet will burn if. 1 hour, Commander, Blackburn repeated, still smiling that unsettling smile. Oh, and you might want to check on your engine control systems. They seem to be having some issues. The transmission cut off. Lieutenant Drex, engine status. Vox Tool barked. Drex was pale. Sir, we are venting plasma, and the containment fields are fluctuating. Override. I'm trying, sir, but the commands aren't going through. And sir, the humans are broadcasting again. To our troops directly this time. They are offering amnesty to any who surrender. Vox Tool felt his world crumbling around him. This was supposed to be an easy conquest, a simple matter of subjugating primitives. Instead, sir, Dr. Ziknar said quietly, perhaps we should consider their terms, at least temporarily, while we reassess. Well, for the first time in his military career, Commander Vox Tool found himself considering retreat. Not out of fear, he told himself firmly, but out of tactical necessity. A strategic withdrawal. Temporary, of course. After all, the hegemony had conquered thousands of worlds. What was one small blue planet in the grand scheme of things? But as he gave the order to recall his forces, Vox Tool couldn't shake the feeling that the hegemony had just made a terrible, terrible mistake. Commander Vox Tool paced the bridge of his damaged flagship, the Eternal Dominion. 4 days had passed since the humiliating retreat from Earth orbit. 4 days of emergency repairs, frantic data analysis, and increasingly uncomfortable communications with the High Council. Explain again, demanded High Counselor Zexnar, her aged face filling the view screen, mandibles quivering with barely contained rage, how the most advanced military force in the galaxy was repelled by creatures who haven't even mastered interplanetary travel. Vox Tool suppressed a wince. High Counselor, these humans are anomalous. They don't follow expected patterns for pre-interstellar species. Their technological advancement curve is erratic but extremely steep under pressure. So they are quick learners, she snapped. That doesn't explain how they bypassed our cybersecurity. Systems that have withstood attacks from the Arcturian Collective. Lieutenant Krex cleared his throat nervously from his station. If I may, High Counselor, the humans utilize what they call lateral thinking to an extraordinary degree. They don't approach problems sequentially like most species. They jump between solution pathways in ways our predictive algorithms can't anticipate. Fascinating, Zexnar replied, her tone suggesting it was anything but. And this justifies retreat? Vox Tool straightened his posture. It was a tactical withdrawal, High Counselor. We underestimated the initial resistance. Now we prepare a proper response. And what response would that be, Commander? The hegemony doesn't tolerate failure. Before Vox Tool could answer, Dr. Ziknar stepped forward. High Counselor, I have completed my analysis of human communication patterns since our withdrawal. They are not behaving as expected. Meaning. They are celebrating, High Counselor, not just with relief that we have departed, but with, I can only describe it as vindication. They are producing new entertainment content about our defeat already. Songs, visual narratives, even humorous sketches. Zexnar's eyes narrowed. They mock us? Worse, High Counselor, they expected to win. And now they are even more convinced of their exceptionalism. The High Counselor was silent for a long moment. Commander Vox Tool, I am dispatching the 7th Fleet to your position. You will assume command and return to the human world with overwhelming force. Though this insult cannot stand. The hegemony has never failed to conquer a target world, and we will not start now. Vox Tool felt a surge of relief. The Seventh Fleet, 15 capital ships, thousands of fighters, and nearly 100,000 ground troops. Even these surprisingly resilient humans couldn't stand against such might. Thank you, High Counselor. I won't fail the hegemony again. See that you don't. Because if you do, Commander, you won't be returning at all. The transmission ended abruptly. Lieutenant Drex approached cautiously. Sir, our intelligence drones report the humans are rapidly adapting our salvage technology. They have already integrated our shield generators into their defense systems and appear to be working on weapons prototypes. Let them play with our scraps, Vox Tool replied confidently. Nothing they cobble together will withstand the Seventh Fleet. Dr. Ziknar looked unconvinced. Commander, with respect, I believe we are still underestimating these creatures. Their rate of technological assimilation is unprecedented, noted Doctor, but they have days, perhaps weeks. The Seventh Fleet arrives in 3 planetary rotations. Whatever advantages they have gained will be rendered meaningless by sheer firepower. As his officers returned to their stations, Vox Tool resumed studying the tactical displays showing Earth, such a small, insignificant world. And yet it had bloodied the hegemony's nose. He would ensure it never happened again. On Earth, General Jack Blackburn stood in the bustling command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. What had once been a Cold War relic was now the heart of humanity's defense effort. Scientists, military personnel, and civilian experts from dozens of nations worked side by side, all focused on a single goal: preparing for the aliens' return. They are coming back, aren't they? Asked Dr. Anita Patel, head of the newly formed Alien Tech Integration Division. Blackburn nodded grimly. Count on it. That wasn't their full strength, not by a long shot. We bloodied their nose, but now they will come back swinging. How long do we have? Hard to say. Our new long-range sensors can track their mothership, but it's just sitting there at the edge of the system, waiting for something. Dr. Patel gestured to a nearby workstation where engineers were disassembling an alien rifle. We are making progress, but it's like giving cavemen a smartphone. We can make it work, but we don't fully understand the principles yet. Keep pushing, Blackburn urged. Focus on defensive systems first. And Doctor? Skip the testing phases where you can. We don't have time for perfect solutions. That's dangerous, General. So is extinction. He turned as his aide approached with a tablet. What is it, Major? Sir, Project Leapfrog just had a breakthrough. You will want to see this. Blackburn followed the Major to another section of the enormous facility. Here, quantum physicists worked alongside aerospace engineers, their workstations cluttered with both human and alien technology. Professor Felix Wong rushed over, his face alight with excitement. General, we have cracked their FTL communications. You can understand their transmissions? Better than that. Wong grinned. We can send our own, and they won't be able to tell they are from us. Blackburn whistled low. That opens up some interesting possibilities. It gets better, Wong continued. Their navigation systems rely on the same quantum principles. Give us another 48 hours, and we might be able to do more than just listen and talk. You are talking about remote interference? I'm talking about taking control, General, at least temporarily. For the first time since the invasion began, Blackburn felt a genuine smile spread across his face. Professor Wong, you just made my day. Keep me updated on any progress. As he walked back toward the command center, Blackburn's smile faded. They were making remarkable advances, yes, but would it be enough? The aliens clearly had centuries, perhaps millennia of technological development on their side. Humanity was playing catch-up in a game rigged against them. But then again, humans had always excelled at beating rigged games. Commander Vox Tool stood in the docking bay of the Eternal Dominion, watching as the first ships of the Seventh Fleet arrived. They emerged from hyperspace in perfectly choreographed sequence, enormous vessels that dwarfed his own command ship. Admiral Gore Vex, commander of the Seventh Fleet, was the first to board. An imposing figure, even by hegemony standards, his battle-scarred exoskeleton bore the marks of 100 conquests. "Commander Vox Tool," he growled by way of greeting, mandibles clicking dismissively. "I have reviewed your reports. Frankly, I find them difficult to believe." Vox Tool stiffened. "I assure you, Admiral, everything is accurately documented. You expect me to believe primitives with combustion engines and projectile weapons repelled our forces? That they hacked our quantum-encrypted systems in hours? I don't expect you to believe it, Admiral. I merely report what occurred." Gorvex made a guttural sound that might have been a laugh. "Well, Commander, you will be pleased to know the 7th Fleet doesn't share your caution. We have conquered worlds with defenses far more formidable than this Earth. With respect, Admiral, conventional tactics may prove ineffective against these humans. They don't respond as expected. They adapt quickly and—" "Spare me your excuses," Gorvex interrupted. "The High Council has approved my battle plan. We will strike simultaneously at 100 major population centers. No gradual escalation, no opportunity for them to adapt. Overwhelming force from the outset." Vox Tool hesitated. "And the planet's resources?" "The High Council originally wanted minimal damage too. Priorities have changed, Commander. This is now about making an example. The hegemony cannot allow word to spread that primitives successfully resisted us. The psychological impact across the sector would be problematic." "I understand." Vox Tool fought to keep his tone neutral. "The 7th Fleet's approach would leave Earth a smoking ruin. All those resources wasted." But he knew better than to argue with Gorvex. The Admiral's fury was legendary, and his influence with the High Council unmatched. "We launch in 12 hours, Gorvex declared. "Your ship will join the 3rd attack wave. Try not to retreat this time, Commander." With that parting shot, he stalked away, flanked by his adjutants. Lieutenant Krex waited until the Admiral was out of earshot before speaking. "Sir, I have been monitoring human communications. They are tracking our fleet's arrival. Expected. Their sensor technology has improved remarkably." "Yes, but sir, they don't seem concerned. If anything, they appear eager." Vox Tool frowned. "Elaborate." "Their military channels are active, yes, but there's none of the panic we'd expect. They are coordinating, positioning assets, but with a confidence that doesn't match their situation. They can't possibly believe they can withstand the 7th Fleet." "No, sir," which suggests they have something we are not seeing. Vox Tool considered this. "Inform Dr. Ziknar. I want a full analysis of human communications, focusing on any anomalous patterns, and Lieutenant? Keep this between us for now." Admiral Gorvex wouldn't appreciate such observations. "Understood, sir." As Krex departed, Vox Tool returned his gaze to the fleet assembling outside. Such overwhelming firepower should have filled him with confidence. Instead, he felt an unfamiliar sensation creeping along his spine segments. Not fear, certainly not fear. Just caution. 10 hours later, Vox Tool stood before Admiral Gorvex on the bridge of the flagship Inevitable Conquest, presenting findings he knew the Admiral wouldn't want to hear. "Impossible," Gorvex snarled after Vox Tool finished. "Your scientist must be mistaken. Dr. Ziknar is the foremost xenopsychologist in the hegemony," Vox Tool replied carefully. "His analysis is thorough. You expect me to believe these humans have somehow infiltrated our fleet-wide communications? Based on chatter patterns? The evidence suggests they have not only cracked our quantum encryption but have been feeding false data into our networks. Subtle discrepancies in navigation coordinates, minor alterations to tactical plans." Gorvex slammed a massive claw down on his command console. "Preposterous. Our systems are impenetrable. Your scientist sees phantoms because you fear these primitives." "I fear nothing, Admiral," Vox Tool replied stiffly. "I merely present intelligence that may affect our mission's success." "Intelligence? Or excuses for your previous failure?" Gorvex turned to his tactical officer. Status of attack preparations? All ships report ready, Admiral. First wave launch in 85 minutes. Excellent. Gorvex turned back to Voxtool. You are dismissed, Commander. Return to your vessel and prepare to follow the fleet. Perhaps witnessing a proper conquest will restore your confidence. Voxtool gave the formal salute, suppressing his growing unease. Glory to the hegemony. As he returned to his shuttle, Lieutenant Krex fell into step beside him. Sir? The Admiral didn't believe our assessment, as expected. Gorvex didn't achieve his rank by questioning conventional wisdom. They entered the shuttle, and Voxtool lowered his voice. New orders, Lieutenant. Prepare the Dominion for immediate hyperspace jump, if necessary. Sir. But the attack plan requires. I'm aware of the plan, Lieutenant, but should circumstances change rapidly, I want options. Am I clear? Krex's mandibles twitched nervously. Perfectly clear, sir. Back aboard the Eternal Dominion, Voxtool gathered his senior officers. The attack proceeds as scheduled, but I want our systems isolated from the fleet network. Manual coordination only. Sir, Lieutenant Drex objected, that severely limits our tactical integration. It also limits our vulnerability to whatever the humans are planning, Voxtool countered. Because they are planning something. Their confidence is too high for a species about to face annihilation. Dr. Ziknar nodded agreement. Their communications show none of the expected panic. If anything, they are displaying anticipation. But, sir, another officer interjected, even if they have developed countermeasures against our first attack, they can't possibly have solutions for the 7th Fleet's full arsenal. Perhaps not, Voxtool conceded. But I have learned not to underestimate these humans. They don't think like us. They don't fight like us. And most importantly, they don't give up like other species we have conquered. As his officers dispersed to carry out his orders, Voxtool returned to studying the tactical displays. The 7th Fleet was arranging itself in perfect attack formation, hundreds of ships prepared to rain destruction upon the small blue planet. It should have been an inspiring sight. Instead, it reminded him uncomfortably of the human concept of hubris he'd recently studied. Prayed before the fall. The attack began precisely on schedule. The first wave of hegemony ships descended toward Earth, weapons primed. From his position in the third wave, Voxtool watched the tactical displays, awaiting the inevitable reports of successful bombardments. Instead, what came was chaos. Admiral Gorvex reports navigation failures across the first wave, Lieutenant Krex announced, his voice tight with disbelief. Ships are, sir. They are appearing at incorrect coordinates, some directly in the path of others. Voxtool's outer eyelids flickered rapidly. Battle damage? No, sir. They never reached weapons range. It's as if their navigation systems suddenly recalculated. On the main view screen, Voxtool could see first-wave ships veering off course, some colliding with each other, others finding themselves nowhere near their targets. And through it all, the human defense grid remained untouched. It's as we suspected, Dr. Ziknar said quietly. They have found a way to manipulate our navigation protocols. Admiral Gorvex is ordering the second wave to proceed, Krex reported. He believes it was an isolated system failure. It wasn't, Voxtool replied grimly, and the second wave will fare no better. He turned to Lieutenant Drex. Hold our position. Do not advance until I give the order. As predicted, the second wave descended into the same chaos. Ships appearing in wrong locations, systems failing, and now, true battle damage as Earth's defense platforms opened fire with weapons that looked suspiciously like modified hegemony technology. Incoming transmission from Admiral Gorvex, Krex announced. The Admiral's face appeared on screen, his expression murderous. Commander Voxtool, your wave will advance immediately. This is merely a temporary setback. With respect, Admiral, I believe we are witnessing a coordinated counterattack using our own systems against us. I recommend immediate withdrawal and coward. Gorvex roared. You will advance your ships now or face execution for insubordination. Before Vox Tool could respond, the transmission suddenly cut out. Moments later, alerts blared across the bridge. Sir, Krex called out. The inevitable conquest is, sir, it's changing course. And he, directly toward the human moon at maximum acceleration. On the view screen, they watched as the enormous flagship suddenly veered off, its engines flaring at dangerous levels. Other ships in the command group followed suit, some spinning out of control, others accelerating in random directions. The humans have seized control of their navigation systems, Vox Tool stated, amazed despite himself. Completely. Commander, Lieutenant Drex interjected urgently. We are detecting massive energy buildup from the Earth's surface. Multiple sites. Pattern consistent with, sir, they have replicated our planet cracker weapons. For a moment, the bridge fell completely silent as the implications sank in. Send to all ships still under our control. Vox Tool ordered, his voice perfectly steady. Emergency hyperspace jump. Immediate, maximum distance. But, sir, the Admiral, he is no longer in command of his vessel. Execute the order. As his crew scrambled to comply, Vox Tool watched the tactical display with a strange sense of detachment. The mighty Seventh Fleet, pride of the hegemony, reduced to chaos by primitives who'd only learned of interstellar travel days ago. The Eternal Dominion shuddered as it prepared for hyperspace jump. On the view screen, brilliant beams of energy lanced upward from Earth's surface, striking several hegemony vessels that hadn't managed to escape. They didn't explode, they simply ceased to exist, reduced to their component atoms in an instant. The last thing Vox Tool saw before the jump was a transmission breaking through on all frequencies. A human face, not General Blackburn this time, but a young female with dark skin and a brilliant smile. This message is for any hegemony vessels still monitoring our broadcasts, she said pleasantly. We have analyzed your culture and governance structures from your database. We know about the High Council. We know about your other conquest fleets. And now we know how to find them. The human's smile widened. We will be seeing you soon. Oh, and we are keeping your ships. Thanks for the donation to human space exploration. We have always wanted to see the stars up close. The transmission cut off as the Dominion leaped into hyperspace, leaving the Sol system and the remnants of the once mighty Seventh Fleet behind. 3 weeks later, Vox Tool stood before the High Council, recounting the disaster for what felt like the 100th time. His career was over, of course. He'd known that the moment he'd ordered retreat. But at least he'd saved his crew, which was more than could be said for Admiral Gorvex and the 80% of the Seventh Fleet that hadn't escaped. So, to summarize, High Counselor Zexnar said when he finished, these humans not only repelled our initial invasion but managed to reverse engineer our technology, infiltrate our most secure systems, and turn our own weapons against us. All within the span of a few planetary rotations. That is correct, High Counselor. And now they possess hegemony vessels, including the flagship Inevitable Conquest, with full access to our databases and navigation charts. Yes, High Counselor. Zexnar leaned forward, her ancient eyes boring into his. And what, in your professional assessment, will these humans do with this capability? Vox Tool didn't hesitate. They will come for us, High Counselor. Not out of vengeance, though that may be a factor, but because we have confirmed their deepest belief about themselves, which is that they are exceptional, that they are destined to prevail against all odds. They have been telling themselves stories about defeating alien invaders for generations. We made those stories come true. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Zexnar spoke again. Commander Vox Tool, while your failure to conquer Earth is unforgivable, your decision to withdraw the Dominion preserved valuable intelligence. For this reason alone, you will not be executed. She paused. Ian? Instead, you will serve as special advisor to our new Terran Defense Initiative. Your first-hand knowledge of these humans may prove useful in the difficult times ahead. Vox Tool bowed deeply. "Thank you, High Counselor." As he was escorted from the chamber, Vox Tool found himself thinking about those strange human H-Fi stories Lieutenant Krex had shown him before the invasion. At the time, he'd found them amusing, primitive fantasies about human exceptionalism. Now, they seemed prophetic. And as he contemplated the hegemony's future with these humans loose in the galaxy, armed with hegemony technology and that unshakable belief in their own destiny, Vox Tool couldn't help but wonder. Were they writing new stories even now? Stories about taking the fight to the stars? About a massive alien empire brought low by the species it had underestimated? And for the first time in his long military career, Commander Vox Tool, veteran of 100 successful conquests, felt something he'd never experienced before. Fear, not for himself, but for the hegemony, for the entire galactic order. Because if there's one thing more dangerous than a primitive species with advanced weapons, it's a primitive species with advanced weapons and a point to prove. The humans had their proof now, and the galaxy would never be the same.